Hello. Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday. I'm just like, I can't stop smiling. I just like the pre-chat with Kristin. Like, I'm just crazy excited about today. I think I'm also excited. I had a really good week this week.
Good. You said your first full week with kiddos in the class.
Yes. And I did a new onboarding activity for my class game. So we got a package from a guinea pig in space named Escape, and he delivered these little breakout locks to my students. They ate it up as much as I wanted them to. It was Mandi. It was beautiful. Okay. I was so excited. I mean, I haven't had students be able to work in pairs in a really long time. And I made some of the locks pairs, and they went to it like it was nothing. And my little teacher heart was just like, look at me go. Look at, when you have that where you're just like, where you're like, working.
Oh. That's awesome. Yeah. So we've had some full weeks of school also. We're actually getting ready to move into one where we have a professional learning day on Monday. So I will have not a full week of school, but no, things are moving right along with me too. So
good.
Same old.
Excellent.
But part of the reason that I'm so excited today is because of a guest. And I know that you know her a little bit more than I do. So yes. I love getting to know people that I really don't know that well. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce her if you're okay.
Yes, let's do it.
All right. So our guest today shares ties with both Carrie and myself. She's an Illinois educator living in Chicago, not far from Carrie. Go Cubs. She teaches. I'm not a Cubs fan, so that's a little.
I added that in there because I had to. Kristin,
I know, I saw that. So, I mean, from Missouri, I have to be a Royals fan. So, so she teaches. Why are you laughing?
Because I didn't think about that when you were reading that.
That's okay. I looked at him like, okay. She teaches and is the Learning Innovation Specialist for the Big Shoulders Fund. She attended college at Mizzou, which is not far from me, earning awards on the swim team. When she's not sailing on Life's a Dance, she's sharing her work as the author of 3 books and her love of technology and literacy in the early grades. Her amazing work has been featured by Apple, Edweek, Mindshift, and Scholastic. I'm so excited to doodle and chat all about Kristin Ziemke today. Yay.
Hi.
Here we go.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
It is so nice to be here. And Carrie, when you said you were energized, I was like, I should start every Saturday like this. Like, this feels so good to wake up and get going.
I'm so happy that you're here with us. It's just, wonderful.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. I can't wait for other people to, you've been sharing your story and the work that you do for so very long. But we're just excited to spotlight you here and just have a wonderful conversation, getting to learn more all about you.
Yes, I'm so excited.
So we brought you in a little bit on how Doodle and Chat works, but for any friends that are joining us here, we have the bowl that knows, and we call it the bowl that knows because it has questions in here that it will give us that are just special enough or not special enough, that are just the right questions for Kristin. And Mandi and I have done our research on Kristin. So there's a variety of different questions written just for her. And there's also a couple of just fun random ones in here that we'll see what they are when they happen. So we're going to turn our cameras on, and then we'll pull our first question and we'll get started. So excited.
I can't wait. This is going to be very exciting.
All right. All right.
That excited tension that happens.
Right, I know, right? It's like,
what's it going to be? I can't wait.
What direction is the bowl going to go? Like, we never know. What are 3 timeless strategies and or mindsets for any educator?
Great question. I think like one timeless strategy that pops into my head is the whole think aloud, right? Like we're remodeling our thinking, saying like, oh, you know what? This idea just popped in my head. And now that's making me wonder, like, what did Carrie say about guinea pigs in space? Like, how is that possible? Are there guinea pigs in space? Where can we find this information? So I love this idea of thinking aloud.
I do too. I love that. You're right. We forget about that.
Yeah, I think along those lines, like another tried and true strategy is just modeling curiosity, living curiously in front of our students, like letting them know, like, I love learning. And anytime I get new information, that is super helpful to me. And here are 3 of my favorite websites for getting new information, right? And so it goes along with that think aloud piece, but it's that element of seeking, right? And empowering kids to see that they can seek and be curious too. And then helping them build the bridge to connect to the resources they might need in order to pursue their curiosity. And what we find is that when you get curious about one thing, it makes you curious about other things, right? Like the more you research, the more questions that you have. And so you keep going in this cycle of wondering, thinking, seeking, and then it goes on in repeat. So I think that modeling of curiosity is so important. And then lots aligned to the work that you guys do. I think doodling is incredibly important. And as an early years educator, like obviously that's so much of writing and communicating through drawings with sometimes labels or pictures or little phrases. But if we look at the research, we can see that this benefits people of all ages because it engages us in dual hemispherical thinking. It allows us to recall and remember at a much higher level. And it's a short and easy way to communicate. So in the classroom, I always have just my trusty clipboard with some blank computer paper on it. I think the clipboard is like the first piece of agile learning, right? Like before we had chairs with wheels, we had the clipboard and like we could bring this up. And it's so simple. I think that's like the other piece about doodling is that it's so simple and we don't need to overcomplicate it. Like you don't need to have a fancy whiteboard or some on-screen, right? Like vibe board where you can annotate over something. You really just need like 3 pieces of printer paper and a clipboard, and I can show kids something. I can model my thinking. I can hold it up. It's with me everywhere in the classroom. And even if you're doing something on Zoom, right? Like during the pandemic, I was like, do you see what I'm doing right here? Like, here we go. Like everybody try it at home too. So I think the doodling piece is incredible. And just the other doodling strategy I love with kids is giving them the little 3x3 sticky notes. And I think I've tried this from pre-K through 12th grade, and it works for everybody because the small size isn't intimidating. Like you don't have to fill the whole blank paper, but you can jot some ideas quickly, and it's very shareable, right? Whether you pass a Post-it down the table for like the partner at your table to read, or even if students have a stack in class, you can just hold it up and everybody can show and see their thinking. So modeling, curiosity, and doodling would be 3 go-to kind of like evergreen strategies, right? Like they don't fade, they just stay green and they're always good. And so, whereas from time to time, they might go on the back burner a little bit because we have so many things we're doing, we need to bring them up to the front burner because they're research-based, classroom tested, learner approved.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Like that's like the triple stamp of approval. I love it.
Good.
Love it. I love, what a great way to start the conversation too. And I feel like, it just also just brings little pieces of you out in that answer too, which I really love.
Thank you.
And I agree with you. Like, we could say that you're an early educator and that's why these work for you. But I agree that like, and Mandi, I know because Mandi and I have talked about it before, these are timeless and ageless. Like the thinking out loud, we forget to do that with older kids.
Right.
When kids are stuck or something, or there's a silence in the classroom, we forget to say, well, this makes me think of, like fill the void,
Right.
We don't always repair that. And we also I think still with older students, people forget that. I think like front loading with visuals, whether it's doodles or just pictures,
Always.
is an incredibly powerful thing. Like when I see agendas, which I love that we're using in our building with just words, I'm like, where's the icon that goes next to the thing? Like, stop making them read. Put the pencil next to it, you know, like it's just little things like that. The doodles and the visuals are just, I love the clipboard idea too. Like that is a fun, I'm gonna like, that's gonna, you know, stick with me. I'm gonna have to, because I love clipboards too. They make learning portable too. Students can sit on the floor with a clipboard.
Well, and then I think too, we just think about like drawing, right? Like differentiation is built in, right? Like you said, like you're reading the pictures, but that's a high level of comprehension. You're building background knowledge with images before you give them an article on the Aurora Borealis, right? Like you're helping language learners connect and make some of those like imprinting moments with the imagery available. And so it benefits all types of learners, and it really just adds a layer into your classroom. I think of it like we're reading images and text and digital text and video and graphics. And, you know, today so much is presented graphically that we need to teach kids how to read graphics effectively. Like, where do you start in the graphic? Like, can you go in multiple directions? Does it follow the same rules as text? So that they can comprehend the information at a high level, and so that they can then create graphics to represent what they're seeing in the real world. And so it's this moment of like the evolution of literacy, I think. And, you know, if we cycle back, we think about like pictures painted on caves, like that was how people told stories. And then like glyphs, right? And how hieroglyphs like told a series of ideas through pictures. And then text came as representation, but it didn't mean the other formats went away, right? Like we might have relocated like how we interact with images and pictures, but just because we have other strategies now, it doesn't make those innate strategies less valuable. And just because we're learning new strategies as literacy continues to evolve with AI or whatever the next thing is, it doesn't mean that like learning about new things takes up more space or replaces the space that images and doodles used to have. Like both can coexist at the same time. And I think the more strategies that we have, the better we'll be able to think and interact moving forward.
I love that.
I've been thinking about that a lot lately, and I've done a lot of research just on like what's coming out with like digital reading and what we need to be thinking about and some of the nuances and differences. And it really just, for me, connects back to literacy, you know, like reading and writing in ways that mirror how we know it today have been around for almost 6,000 years and have always evolved and changed over time. And so we look at all these new things coming at us, and it's just that continued evolution. And so I think we teach kids how to think, and then they'll be able to handle whatever we put in front of them moving forward.
100%.
I say that all the time. Teach kids how to think.
Yes, right?
You need to teach them content. Content is out there. You need to teach them how to think so they can use the content they find.
Absolutely. And I think that's like been a big push like globally too, that like Fortune 500 companies are looking less at the innate knowledge that people have, the information that they possess, and more of the skills and strategies that they know how to use to collaborate, to be part of a team, to innovate, to problem solve, and to communicate moving forward.
Absolutely. I always say too, on the same note of, you know, teaching students how to think, that I want my students to walk out of my classroom as being the best problem solvers they possibly can be, because it doesn't matter how well they can read or write or do math. If they can solve a problem, they can do anything.
Yep.
Yeah.
100% agree with that.
Yeah. So that teaching students how to be thinkers goes along with your cycle of why these are timeless things, because ultimately we need, no matter how, like you said, no matter what we're teaching them, it's always going to change. But we want really good thinkers for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Love that.
Look at that Bull handing us a great first question.
I know. And yeah.
Wow, that was only question one. We had so much to talk about.
Well, then we have Anne in the chat too. She's from Canada. She's one of our, I would call her one of our OG Doodle and Chat friends. And she said that one of the strategies she used to, like, when she was teaching read alouds, is like to put a thought bubble above a kid's head to kind of like visualize that, which I love that as well.
Great idea. That's awesome, Anne.
Yeah. All right, here we go. The Bull does know. I'm so happy it gave us this one. How does your favorite dessert fortune, the best teacher is also a student, still impact your work today?
This is a good one. Thank you for pulling that. I love fortune cookies for the background on this. I think they're like the perfect dessert and sweet treat, like light and crunchy and just hit the spot after a meal. But also, like, what other desserts pair tastiness and literacy together like that? So every time you open it, you get to read, and it gives you something to think about, and you get a tasty treat.
It's like your personality almost a little bit too.
Oh, hey, thanks. I would love to be a fortune cookie. That would be amazing. I would actually like to write the notes inside fortune cookies.
That would be fun.
Yeah, that will be like my when I retire career, I hope. But years ago, I got a fortune cookie that said, the best teacher is also a student. And I think that goes in many ways. As a teacher, I need to be the lead learner in the classroom, and I love learning, and I have to keep learning. And sometimes learning is painful or messy, or you have that cognitive dissonance and you get frustrated for a little bit. Or like, if you've ever been to maybe like a conference or an event where you learn so much and then you had to go home and take a nap because like your brain was actually full. I think that's really important. And I think like the cognitive overload is important for adults to remember, because that's how students in the classroom are feeling all the time. So I love the idea of teachers being students, but I got that fortune when I was teaching 33 first graders in Chicago, and it was just me and 33 friends in the classroom, no assistant. And so that was quite a large class size. Yes. But that year, all the time, students were teaching others, themselves, me. And despite the high number of students in the classroom, we had such a great learning community. And so I think that plays the best teacher is also a student reminds me that like we need to be learning from our kids. What do they know that they can bring to the classroom? What are they showing us that I need to note and then be responsive to in terms of what they need next as instruction? So I think it really speaks to teachers being students and adults learning from young people. And I think that's just such an important foundational piece in the work that I've done or what I've observed in classrooms, is that kids are always showing us and teaching us something. And so I've kind of come up with just a couple tagline phrases that I use with students. And I'm always saying to kids when they're explaining something or like they're asking a question or there's like a struggle spot, say more about that. Mm-hmm. And so as kids are thinking or trying to like, what's that thing called? Like you put it on your hand in the winter, it doesn't have, fingers. I'll be like, I could fill in the blank for you, but that would just be me telling you. But if you can say more about that, in about 10 seconds, they usually like come up with the word or the vocabulary or the idea that they were trying to express. And so I think sometimes it's about like slowing down a little bit to give young people the time to think things through, to not feel the pressure of urgency in the classroom. So I'm always saying, say more about that or talk that through, and inviting the time for them to get to the idea on their own. Because if they come up with what they were trying to say or explain, then it's imprinted in their brain and they're more likely to remember it next time. I also think anytime you ask a kid to like talk that through or say more about that, they're showing you what they know and are able to do today. And that's the best type of assessment you can get in the moment. And that absolutely informs how I teach or interact with them tomorrow. And so it's this great cycle of everyone learning together. And at any moment, anyone in the room being the lead teacher.
I love all of that. And my favorite part of that is that it came from a fortune cookie. Like, I do. Like, I love that fortune cookie has so much thought that can go into it. I actually think life should be that way. What is the fortune cookie telling us? What can we learn from this fortune cookie?
Yes, 100%. And right, it's also like that. The thing I love about fortune cookies too is it's also that element of micro writing, right? Like, how do we like write short and say something powerful? You know, in order to write short, which is so much of what we do in our daily lives, right? Text message, social media updates, you know, emails, all of these kind of things, comments, like that's short writing. But to be a proficient short writer, you have to have a wide vocabulary, right? Because to write short, you need to be able to say what you mean in a succinct fashion. And then the byproduct of that too is you also have to have very specific content knowledge. Otherwise, you're going to ramble on and not be able to communicate your message quickly. So I love fortune cookies. Like I love like 6-word stories or 10-word stories. Like take a big idea and synthesize it so that it's like one awesome sentence.
Love it.
Me too.
I love it. So fun. And I also just love like hearing your ideas for, you know, engaging the whole classroom and bringing them all in as like, you know, as a family, which is important.
Absolutely. I think when we think about the time kids spend in class, and especially in you know, self-contained classrooms, that like we're spending hours and hours and hours together a day, and we need to have relationships. And so those relationship skills are so important for us to communicate effectively, collaborate intentionally, create with purpose. And so looking at everybody's strengths and everybody's opportunity to grow, I think really positions us in this mindset, like we're here together and let's move forward together.
Absolutely. Mandi, I bet you find that also like now in your new role, right? From the classroom to administrator, it doesn't change, does it?
It doesn't. No, it absolutely doesn't.
Yeah.
100% agree with that. I think that's like the best administrators I know are building that community and knowing kids and knowing teachers and being part of just that modeling of like curiosity and care and compassion in all that they do.
You're right. Yeah. When I think of my favorite administrators, you're right. They do all those things as well. Yeah, for sure. Kristin's doodling.
I'm trying. Yep.
You're doing great.
Oh, yeah.
I cannot wait to hear the answer to this one. What is your favorite memory as a Big 12 top 16 breaststroker?
Oh, goodness. Throwback question there. I I had a great experience swimming at the University of Missouri. It was wonderful because you go to college and we're a co-ed team. So immediately you have 45 friends or people to spend for people to spend time with. And I think some of my favorite memories was like the travel that we did all over the Big 12 at that time. Swimming is a 2-semester sport, so you don't really get to go home for Christmas. Like you get to go home for 3 days, and then you have to go on a training trip. That's supposed to be like the enticement, like you go somewhere warm so you can swim, you know, like 6 hours a day and not have any winter holiday. So those travel trips were like fond memories. You know, we'd have 45 people wearing the same clothing, walking through airports across the country. And that was a great experience. And so I think I look at those times where we just like laughed and swam and were exhausted and ate as just some of the most fun things. I had a really great experience at Big 12's my senior year at Texas. That was awesome. And I had a challenging experience my freshman year. My first swim in the Big 12 was like the Big 12 Invitational in Lincoln, Nebraska. And my first race was against the current record holder, world record holder in my event. And so this person was like 25, and I do believe she was out of the pool before I even finished my race. So that is something that definitely builds character. Is a moment to like learn and grow and think about facts. Mm-hmm.
Life can be incredibly humbling sometimes. Yes.
It can be. I mean, I was like excited. I was like, oh my gosh, she like is a world record holder and just like won the Olympics 2 years ago. And then I was like, wow, that was hard. So. Yeah. True.
Oh, how fun. I'm trying to think. I have one more thought in my head for drawing. I'm trying to imagine, bring back my pool memories. Like, what does the race pool look like?
Oh, yeah.
I actually just supervised swim the other day, so that was pretty fresh in my mind. I was
you got it.
Swim meets the other day. So.
Yeah, pretty funny.
So one thing I couldn't quite land on. So you're Illinois native, right? So you grew up here.
Yes.
Were you a city? Did you grow up in the city?
No, I grew up in Lockport, which is kind of.
Oh, that's right. I remember seeing that.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe like an hour outside the city.
Okay.
It was a farm town then. It's now a suburb.
Okay.
So did you go to MU purposely to swim? I
did. Mm-hmm. That's how I ended up there. And it was a great experience, athletically and academically. I started, like many people do, in a variety of different majors and careers, and then landed in education. And they had a great early childhood program at that time. And I didn't know it then, but as I've become a more experienced educator, I look back on the opportunities I had as a student in the education program and just recognize how robust and wonderful my undergraduate experience was. From the first semester of education, you were placed in the field so that you could start looking at like what school systems looked like. And the rationale was that they didn't want people to get to their student teaching and then realize that this wasn't what they thought it was going to be. And the great part about it was that you had a wide variety of educational settings. So my first semester, I would get on a bus, like the College of Ed would charter a bus. And I would go to Hannibal, Missouri every week, which is about 90 minutes from campus, to be in classrooms. And so the idea was to see what rural education looked like. And so you would first be in an elementary, then a middle school, then a high school. And then every semester after, it was something similar to like that in different regions. Even in St. Louis, we would go into schools. And then always around Columbia, I have a ton of field placements. So that vision for what this could look like was crafted very early on. And then I had incredible professors that really push and challenge you. And I realized that my content knowledge was just so much deeper than any of my colleagues as an early teacher.
I bet. That does sound like that's a great approach.
It was amazing. And they had a lab school on campus. And so you were always in classrooms every single day observing great instruction.
That's awesome. I mean, then it also just probably gives even the professors an opportunity. Like, if you don't love kids, we're going to be able to tell
right
from the beginning, like, if this is not for you.
Absolutely.
Which is one of the reasons that in Missouri, Mizzou is one of the schools that has remained as a strong education school, where a lot of our other schools have pared it down to just elementary education.
Yep.
They have held on to a lot of their secondary degrees as well. And so Mizzou is still one of our stronger schools in the state that makes sure that we produce some teachers. So
awesome.
Yes, it's I work with a couple universities around the country from time to time, and it's very upsetting to see that colleges of education are being condensed or minimized or reduced. And that's happening in many places, which is super sad and horrible for the profession as well. So it's good to hear that there's a few universities out there that are still holding on to, keep on with the good fight and educate the people that we need to be in classrooms today.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Mandi, I think one of the highlights for me was after my second book, Amplify, the College of Ed asked me to come back to Mizzou and speak. And
Kristin.
I know it was so like full circle and awesome to go back there. And then the very first educator conference I went to was called Teachers Applying Whole Language in Columbia, Missouri, and they've since evolved. But I also got to go back there around the same time and do the opening keynote. And so my very first conference I ever attended, I got to go speak at. And there's so many great educators that run that program in Columbia, Missouri. So I've been super lucky to stay connected with the community.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's so fun.
That actually made me a little teary because, like, it's just as really special as a human being. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yes,
to just be recognized like that, and then
Well, and I didn't even, in university, I don't even know if I like really knew what educator conferences were like, but that was a requirement for the College of Education that you had to attend one conference. And I think there was like a super reduced rate. Maybe it was like $20 or something. But I remember going and being like, wow, like there's so many good ideas. Like these people are so smart. And then to get to go back as someone who, relatively regularly gets to speak at conferences all over, to go back to the place where I first had a conference was really, really special.
Yeah. And also because they're just so proud of you. Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah. That's awesome. I'm going to pull another question. Bull's doing great.
Bull is doing great. Love it.
What impact has family hosted foreign exchange high school students had on you?
That is a really good question from, again, I'm loving where you are doing your research and pulling this from.
It's a wonderful and scary place.
I know. It's awesome. We always hosted foreign exchange students growing up. My mom was my dad was a high school administrator and my mom was a high school Spanish teacher and just really involved in like the community. And from time to time, we would share an exchange student with another family, or if there was an emergency in the host family, like we would adopt the exchange student and take them in, or we would travel and have them forever and ever. So we had exchange students from Chile and Spain and Germany and Sweden and just all over the place. And it was a really great experience to have another sibling in the house for a period of time, and just to learn about other cultures. And truly, like when you peel off all the layers, hear someone else's story, and to think about like how that story was similar or different to theirs, or build that cultural awareness, or that compassion and empathy when the exchange student was homesick, or, you know, like all of those different things that go into it. And we have been just so lucky that we've been able to stay in contact with almost all of them. So the first time I think we had an exchange student, I was 10, and we're still in touch with Ricardo all the time. Like we go to Chile and see him. We know his kids who are now like middle schoolers. And so it's like been a really great experience. And then we have exchange students in Germany that come like every couple of years to see, and has even traveled for like my brother and my like 5s or 0s big birthdays to come celebrate with us. And so it's just been a really great opportunity to get a lens into the rest of the world. And I think for me, that goes with the curiosity piece. Like I was always curious. And then as a result, their experiences inspired me to be someone that seeks experiences like travel. And full disclosure, I'm a totally no preference traveler. Like I will just go on the internet and be like, where can you go for, you know, $400?
I love that.
Yeah. And so like I've ended up in like some pretty cool places as a result. But I think like seeing the world helps you understand other people's stories, and it gives you inspiration to grow your story, and then to keep listening and again engage in that feedback loop.
Well, look at you, like weaving in that first question into your like third question.
I think I just like, I've had great mentors that have helped me recognize this, and I've observed people. And I think that just this piece of curiosity is so important to human growth, and being a citizen of the world. And so I think like if we look at those moments, like being curious really has so many benefits that I don't even know if we could figure out all the benefits of it.
For sure.
We give a survey to our parents. And it's always interesting to kind of see the results of what our community values in an educational system. And we were comparing 10 years ago what they had said the results were compared to what our most recent survey results were. And 10 years ago, one of the highest priorities on their list was educational knowledge, making sure that they had all of the knowledge and skills that they needed. And over the last couple of years, our survey has completely changed, where educational knowledge is still on there. It's just very, very low. What is at the top is creativity, curiosity, global citizenship, all of the things you just talked about. So not only do we see that as a value, but our communities are also seeing that as something that they really want the school system to start embracing. And I've said all along, sometimes the institution of education takes the curiosity away because we have a very rigid and regimented process to do things. And I love that the focus is now kind of coming back to, we need that curiosity. We need that creativity. We want students to be independent thinkers.
Absolutely. And it's so energizing to hear your parent community is valuing that, because I know a lot of places that's like not quite the case.
Right.
And Mandi, that makes me think too, I've been thinking a lot about AI and, how do we use it? How do we teach kids how to use it? What is the role? What are the pitfalls? But then I was talking with some experts in the field about it over the summer, and we were really talking about how the rise of AI will necessitate like the doubling down on the things that AI can't do, like creativity, like curiosity, like those communication things, like play, right? Like we need to double down on play, because like AI can't do that for you, right? And so like now we can like figure out the things or triangulate the information and come up with the facts really quickly, but we can't be curious about it. And it's interesting. I was speaking to actually about doodling and like my process of like organizing thinking to a group of songwriters from the Illinois Songwriting Guild and people from Nashville. And we were talking, they were worried about AI and how it was influencing the music industry. But what I said, and what we kind of like resounded with, was just that like AI can't make something that we haven't even thought of yet, right? It's only pulling from the things that we know or that have been published. So all of the things we haven't even like thought about yet are still out there. And so we have to keep thinking, we have to keep creating. And once we think of them, it might be repurposed or adjusted or reused. But there's so many things that we haven't thought about yet.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. My friend has a degree in design criticism, and he was the one that like started me down the path of thinking about that. So shout out.
Design criticism.
Yes, I know, right? What an interesting field.
One of those fields that like probably wasn't invented when they graduated from like. Yeah,
exactly. It was like a byproduct of like architecture for undergrad and then design criticism for like a master's program. But like that didn't exist, I don't think, like years ago, or maybe it had a different name where people were thinking through those things. But like that's also exciting for me too. Like what else can we discover and learn about, or like what cool things haven't been invented yet that like we get to encounter and have conversations about. So
agreed.
Yeah.
My goodness, you're just filling. I'm loving this conversation so much, and I'm learning so much from you, but also just being so infused with your passion for things, and then your life experiences are just, and it's just wonderful.
Thank you. It's fun to be with you guys. It's exciting to talk about those things.
Good. Another one I hope that the bowl would give us. What do you love about the serenity and challenge of sailing life's dream? A dance.
Yes. I feel like a broken record, but I started sailing because I needed to learn something new. Like I was at this phase of my life where I was kind of bored with myself, and I was like, I haven't learned anything new recently. Like I'm just doing some of the same things I've always been doing. So I took sailing lessons, and that was a great experience. And then the pandemic hit. So it was hard to get out on the water or jump on boats with people because you couldn't be in close contact. So maybe in 2021, I think it was, I found a little sailboat that was for sale. And I was like, well, if I'm ever going to learn how to become a sailor, like I better buy a boat and just figure it out. And so that wasn't my original plan. That was like a byproduct of the pandemic. But what I love about it is I love the water. I'm a Pisces, also like swimmer, like all these pieces come together. So I love being out on the water. And I think Lake Michigan is just one of our country's greatest assets and sometimes underappreciated. And when you're sailing, there's no motor noise to distract you.
Yes, you're right.
you just hear the boat like going through the water, and it's like bubbly and waves, and sometimes like the wind is in the sail. And so it's very mindful. I think it's just such a great opportunity to connect to nature. Like immediately I was like, oh yeah, being on the water, that's fun. But really you become such a student of the weather and the wind and what, like if it's an east wind, it's going to be very bumpy, or if it's a north, it's going to be cold. And so you learn all of these different things. So for me, sailing became an opportunity for me to learn something new. And I think the great thing about it is that you're always learning as a sailor. Like you never know all the things, even the like old goats, as they're called, people have been sailing for decades and decades. They're still learning. And depending on the day and the conditions and the boat that you're on, it'll always be a different experience.
I love it.
Yeah, it's been good, and it's challenging too. Like sometimes it doesn't go the way you want it, whether it's too windy or not windy enough, or you hit some weather, and it's problem solving as well.
Yeah, that's wonderful. How are you? Mandi's got plenty of space. I'm running out of space, but I think we've got plenty of time. So let's keep going. I suspect that this is a random one. If you didn't have to sleep, Kristin, what would you do with extra time?
Oh, that is a really good one. I wish I didn't have to sleep. Like I am not one of those people that can go on 4 hours of sleep a night. Like I am a 8-hour person, or else I'm a disaster. Overtiredness is my kryptonite, is what I always say. If I didn't have to sleep, I think I would just read more. I love reading. I love literacy. There's always great books to engage with. So that would be like first on my list of things to do if I wasn't sleeping. I think I would do more volunteer work if I didn't have to sleep, because I think that we, as educators, we give back a lot to the community. But I think if we had more time and if everybody could engage in some type of volunteering, it could have a huge impact on our communities, cities, states, country. And then if I didn't have to sleep a little bit more, I would probably work out a little bit more. Like I feel like working out is always like the first thing to go if I'm tired. But I do value like health and wellness. And so I would love to go on more walks or do some more Pilates or something along those lines.
Love it.
What would you guys do if you didn't have to sleep?
Well, I love your ideas because I'm with you though too. It's like to my dismay, I cannot get by on less sleep. And I also, it's like to my dismay in my late 40s. Like, so when I was like you're like, you know, your late 30s, I remember I could stay up to like midnight and like really push it a couple nights a week. And then I'd be okay. Now I can't even stay up till midnight and then pretend that I'm going to function. Besides the fact that our female bodies, you know, have hormonal suggestions for how much they want to let us sleep too. So like if I can get past 6 hours, I'm doing really well, which is also disappointing because sometimes I want to sleep more.
Right. I know. I was thinking about that. Like, I remember maybe like 8 years ago or something, pre-pandemic for sure. But like if I had an exhausting week at the beginning of the year, like right now, right? Like this time of the year where it was, this week for me was like the longest week and the fastest week at the same time. Like I remember on Tuesday being like, how am I going to get through this week? And then it was yesterday at 2:00 and I couldn't remember what happened to the week. But I remember at the start of school year that like those first couple Saturdays, I could sleep till like 9:30 in the morning. And it was just like, okay, I just slept 11 hours last night. Like I'm back, like I'm a normal human again. But now I can't do that anymore. And I'm so sad about it because I would love to just be in bed till 9:30.
Yes. But I guess, yeah, I mean, I'm not as a ferocious reader as you or Mandi are, but I would like to have more time to work out and also just, find more balance in life, right? Like I love my job and I love my family, but then it doesn't leave much time always for like Doodle and Chat or taking care of myself. So not sleeping would probably allow me to do those things.
Right. All the things you want to do that you run out of time. Every day I feel like it's 10 o'clock and I haven't done half the things that I wanted to do for the day.
It's tough. Mandi, what about you? Well, you would read more, wouldn't you?
I would read more. I would create more. I just would want the caveat that if I didn't have to sleep, I also wouldn't be tired. Like
yes.
I just so
would make sure that I had all the energy that you have after you've had a good night's sleep. But yeah, I would explore more cooking options with the food allergies that I have. I actually like to cook, but explore some more in that area. But I love to create things. And when I say create, like I will create anything. And so I would just like to have more time to just sit and make things.
Yeah, you're quite the maker. Your brain, yeah.
My brain likes to make things. My body likes to make things. So
I love that. I love not being tired. That's such a good one.
Like, great, no sleep needed, but I also don't want to be tired.
Agreed. Yeah, for sure. Then we'd be unstoppable. My goodness. Watch out, world.
Yeah, unstoppable. Absolutely.
I think we have time for one more question.
All right. And I think I have a space to squeeze it in.
All right. I think this is a good one to end on. What is your idea of a great party?
Ooh, that is really a good one to end on. I think a great party is one where you have your maybe smaller group of close friends, where it's not like a social event where you have to make like everybody feel welcome and it's like a little more performative of a party, but just your very small friends. So that you can relax and enjoy the time and not quite feel like the same level of hosting duties. I think that a great party always has champagne. That would be my drink of choice to make a great party with lots of little bubbles in it. And I think laughter will make a great party. Like you have to, and that's why I like the small group of friends. I think that like you have your inside jokes and your old stories and like the knowledge of knowing each other well enough that you don't have to do any of the small talk. You can get to just like the hearty joy. And that's a real beautiful thing.
I love that. The hearty joy.
I also love that. I too enjoy a small group of friends. I get overwhelmed with a large group of people, and I also jump into the do mode because I'm a doer of like you put me in a group of people, I would actually rather be by the table refilling empty food than I would be
Same, Mandi.
talking to other people. And so yes, when there's a smaller group of people, you really can just relax and enjoy that time and spend that time with those people instead of feeling you have to do all the time.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm going to let Kristin finish up what she's drawing. And then if she wants to share, she can share at the end. And I'll zoom in on mine first. And then Mandi, you can finish up your last drawings.
Ooh, that's so good, Carrie.
So fun. I wanted my fortune cookie to be so much better, but it's okay. I'm okay with it.
No, I love it. That's awesome.
This was really fun to draw. Really fun.
Wow, it's beautiful.
I know my breaststroker came out really sweet.
That is so good. Look at it.
Live representation, Kristin.
Love it. That's it. You nailed it. Awesome.
Mine is a little.
I think both of ours are a little blurry. Yeah.
A little blurry today. So for my breaststroker right here, I was going for like the top down look with it.
Yes.
But I'm going to tell you what you have to be really careful with. when you're drawing fortune cookies is that it doesn't look like a butt.
Oh, yep.
And when I finished with mine, I was like, well, mine looks like a butt, and I don't know how to fix that. So,
well, I definitely think yours is better than mine. Hopefully you guys can see that right there. Trying to draw and talk at the same time. But look at my
You did great.
No, it looks like a heart right there. Look at that's not even good. It was a little challenging to talk and draw at the same time.
it is.
But I don't know how you guys do that. It's like so hard. But it is super fun to think about some of those ideas and to get them done in drawing. And we all do the best that we can at our drawings, right? And I think that's also like an important thing to model in front of students. We don't say things like, oh, I'm not good at, sketching or whatever. Just like, oh, I did my best. So.
Yes. Well, and I guess, secretly, and we've shared this before, our hope is that it adds a little bit of discomfort, because sometimes I think when we're a little bit unguarded, our questions and our answers and our conversations just are a little bit more, they're just different. They're just a little bit more from the deeper inside of us than what we might have planned.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Kristin, for being here with us today. Friends, if you were here with us today and you doodled and chatted along with us, please snap a picture of your doodle and chat and share it out on your favorite social media platform using hashtag Doodle and Chat. And then be sure to head over to Instagram this week and check out Doodle and Chat, because Kristin is going to donate her book, Read the World, Rethinking Literacy for Empathy and Action in a Digital Age. She's going to give us a signed copy to send to one of our winners of that giveaway. So check out the details on Instagram. I know, right? And be a part of all the fun that we have here every Saturday morning on Doodle and Chat at 9:33ish Central Standard Time. Thank you so much, Kristin.
Thank you so much for including me. This was an awesome way to start the weekend.
Awesome. Have a great weekend, everybody else.
Bye, guys.